Hey everyone, this is Corine Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how we do it here on Between the Lines, always with gratitude, or some people say thankfulness. We're above ground, people. It's another day. You should be thankful. It doesn't matter what is going on around you, in front of you, behind you, on top or below. You are still above ground, and a lot of good things can happen, people. A lot of good things can happen. Yeah. So I have with me Dan Curran. He's the co-founder of chapters.io. Sounds very techy, right? It is chapters.io. And so today we're going to be talking about bringing your voice to life in 90 days or less. And you might say, what do you mean by bringing your voice to life? My voice is alive. I'm speaking. Everybody's hearing me. But we're going to be going a little bit deeper into that. And if you just caught a few minutes ago, the communication tip shared by Dan, I posted it on LinkedIn. Sorry for those on Facebook and YouTube, but I guess you'll get it there sometime. But Dan is sharing about telling your story. The world needs your story. Everybody has a story to tell. Whether you believe somebody, it will matter to somebody or not. Dan, welcome to Between the Lines. Let's start off with that. Why do we need to hear other people's stories?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love your energy. So I'm grateful to be here today. I am also going to steal what you just said about your story matters to someone. I think I say everything but that, but so that's going to be our new tagline. So again, thank you. Yes, so we chapters and myself, we help people write their life story, their genius, their knowledge, their life experiences, and at a 60,000 feet level, I'm just an advocate that we all should be able to share it. And with technology today, there's no reason why you are not sharing your wisdom and genius with the rest of the world, whether it's one person that will read it or millions of people.
I agree with that. And as an author myself and publisher, this is exactly what I tell authors. Everybody has a story. Everybody could impact one person. Don't think about the millions or the thousands or the billions. It's just one you need to touch. And you know how I know that is true? Because people come to us, Dan, for advice. There must be one thing that somebody has come to you for. And it could be as simple as, girl, where did you buy that thing? I love it. Girl, what did you put into that cake? It turned out so light and fluffy. Guy, I saw you using that particular machine. Oh, that car, I love it. It's smooth. It's getting the girls. Where did you get that from? Or I love the way you and your wife get along. You look like such a lovely family. What are you doing? Your kids are excelling. I don't know. Something is happening. I'm missing something in my own relationship. Somebody would have come to you for one, just one. And if you just sit and think, what is that one thing that people keep coming to me for or to you for? You know you have a story to tell. You do. You go to work every day and you are telling the stories, people. You are telling the stories. Dan, back me up here in terms of that. Let's share what is a story, putting you on the spot, Dan. If you were to write a book, just pretend you didn't write any. But if you were to tell a story, fresh off the press today, what would be that story you would want to share with the world?
Well, if you're talking about me personally, and so yes, you are putting me on the spot. I'm the cobbler that makes the shoes. I'm not used to talking about my shoes. Wow. Thank you. I'll get you back on this one. I'm going to cheat here a second because I'm finishing my book, and my book is on chaos. And having seen the sun go around, a few times, or the planet going around the sun a few times, I believe that chaos is a good thing. It can be a very good thing. And chaos, the name of my book is Chaos is a Ladder, Ladder. that
Mhm.
it can be a ladder, and with COVID and AI, and every month there's going to be something new. We
Yeah.
just always have to be flexible, always
Oh,
anticipating change, and rather than fighting against it, just embrace it. And so that's where my story is, probably since I was born and till they kicked me out of this life. And so I've really enjoyed it. And there's a statistic it's like 91% of anyone that writes a book, and this
mhm.
is amazing, is very proud and fulfilled that they wrote it. Has nothing to do with monetary, but nothing's
Mhm.
not over 90% of any statistic. And this one is. So it's just guaranteed to, when you look back and you went through that effort,
Yeah.
and now that effort is much less, people are very
Mhm.
happy that they went through the exercise.
Yeah. And that he said he's going to get me back for that. Let's wait and see, people.
Yeah,
We have the rest of the episode.
exactly.
No, but chaos is definitely a part of life. Without chaos, we do not grow, whether personally or professionally. There are no lessons to learn if there's no chaos. Life is not in a straight line. There are so many hills and valleys, turns and twists, forks in the road that you really have to choose. And it's because of, let's call it chaos, quote unquote chaos. It could be in any form, fashion, shape, or size, that forces you to be jittery sometimes, anxious sometimes, face things that you weren't comfortable with, face people that you are uncomfortable with, having to make a decision you've never had to make before, and you're forced to go down a very unknown path, and this is what challenges us. And I believe, Dan, that there is so much that is within us that we haven't explored or even touched yet. I think that the areas that we do talk about ourselves or share about ourselves are the parts that we feel comfortable with. From the time we start to go a little bit further into a space, we start to pull back or we're hesitant. It happens to all of us. And I think that is what causes people to probably feel inhibited, or let's use the word fearful, of writing a book, telling their story, because it's actually taking them from comfort, keeping it to themselves. Nobody don't really know, or they probably know a particular side of the story, but they don't know the real story, the depth of the story. And that is forcing them to be uncomfortable, to face those demons, to face those questions, to face the triggering and be vulnerable. How do you get persons in your industry, in your practice, to get people to convert to the other side, to move towards the uncomfortable? Because the end result or the ultimate goal is not about you or me. It's about helping that other person. How do you help them to cross over that line?
That's a great question. And my short answer for my company, and well, to take a step back, so we help individuals with their manuscript. So there's ghost writers that help people with their manuscript. There's book coaches. There's people who obviously do it on their own. And my company is different. We're interviewing. So we interview, have you speak, and then we use AI to transcribe, and it's very
Mhm.
authentic. And it's a lot of people are intimidated of writing. Of course they are, because maybe they don't have the fine motor skills, or they're ADHD or busy.
Mhm.
So we're kind of saying, okay, we're going to take all those excuses off, and now
Mhm.
all you have to do is just talk. So even when we're at that point, to answer your question, our secret, and we have this great technology, our X factor is humans. It's really good editors. And I'm an editor fanboy, so to speak. I just God gave us these great people, and these editors are really good at being advocates of, and knowing that you might be imposter syndrome, or you might be hesitant. But a good editor will allow you to be vulnerable. A good editor will allow, really encourage you to be transparent. So and it would feel uncomfortable, right? Because from the, I'm not saying anything's wrong with religions or schools or anything, but
Not
as we
at
grow
all.
up, those are big, bureaucratic organizations, and they're trying to get everyone through a system. So there's not a lot of time for self, sharing your thoughts and wisdom and being vulnerable. So you're growing up through, and kind of going through systems. And then all of a sudden you look back, go, oh, I did have some trauma. I did get knocked down a few times. I also had all these wonderful things happen, and maybe I'd like to share it. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to really just allow people just to be themselves and let technology help the editor organize it. So all you have to do is talk, and you can start today with your cell phone, by recording, and just don't police yourself, just be you. So
Yeah.
that's what we do, is we try to bring a lot of joy and be ambassadors to advocating to share your story.
That reminds me of when I shared the 5 ways. What was it again some years ago? I need to bring that back up. 5 ways to create your ebook. And interviewing was one of the ways, helping people, because at that time, and I would hope people would have kind of grown or gotten over it, but it seemed as if it's still there because it's a human quality. But they had difficulty or fearful to write. Sit down, the keyboard, nothing is coming out of their head. They feel, I don't have anything to say. I don't know what to say. They don't know how to start. So I used to say, just talk. Just talk. Use your phone. Same thing you're saying. Use your phone and just talk. Journaling is something that a lot of people, I think, are doing. I don't have the numbers, but I know people journal in some way or form. There are so many journal apps on your phone, or some people writing a diary, or that's the last thing they do at night, as a sort of debriefing of the day, debriefing of the mind, so that they go to bed, in a sort of meditative, calm state, and letting go of everything of the day. So even that in itself, a journal that you have been documenting for years and years and years, piling them up, becomes so many books. Somebody can take that and turn it into so many books. So it takes me back to when I shared, the 5 ways to create an ebook. It's one of the ways, and it's a combination of ways to get people to pour themselves out and get their story out of them, because they have a difficulty in being vulnerable and sharing, and even just starting. The difficulty is always in the starting. You want
Yes.
to, I want to lose weight. I want to look like Halle Berry. I want to be like J-Lo. But to get on the treadmill, to do the things that J-Lo and Halle Berry is doing, the diet and the stuff, from the time we realize we have to cut out the chocolates and the stuff, and we're like, hell no, we're not,
Yeah.
we're not. You have to work out or dance how much hours a day. You're like, oh no, I'm already panting at 15 minutes. So, if you're not prepared to kind of be uncomfortable, it's going to be a challenge. But I heard something, Dan, and that was significant for me. And it's not new, but I believe that things are said, even though you hear it before, you are ready to receive it at a particular time. And I heard just 15 minutes a day of anything, just 15 minutes a day, small doses of things form habits. And that eventually kind of turns into something big. Just 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. So when I wrote my book is comprised of probably 1,015-minute conversations I had with myself. So trust me, this is no Shakespeare you're talking to, or Hemingway. This was one, manic, happy, horrible thought at a time. But it comes together, and we talk about AI all the time. Well, I'm in a camp, and I know I'm Pollyanna in saying this, but I'm squarely in the camp that we're going to be starving for human stories. So let
Say that
loose.
again, Dan. Say
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
again.
yeah. Just be yourself. No AI knows your story. And guess what? You times a couple of billion. I need to look how many people are on this planet, but there's stories being made every day. So just, so you could tell I'm very visceral, and it's kind of crazy if you think about it. Give an example. I lost my father when I was 17, and
Wow.
I don't know how he thought of politics or religion, or can't really remember his favorite meals, or his
Wow.
favorite places to travel. Why don't we have all that? Why don't why don't we have 23andMe? Everyone's spitting in a tube and getting their DNA where their lineage is from. So I think it's kind of one book, one human. That's our goal
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Let's get everyone to share their thoughts. And again, someone will pick it up. Trust me. Might be tomorrow, might be 1,000 years from now, but someone will pick it up and their jaw will drop regarding your
Yeah.
story. I
We're
promise.
dancing to the same tune, Dan. We're dancing to the
Yeah.
same tune, especially the human interaction. I swear I am going to be the last woman and human standing on this earth. I am telling you, I am not about this. I mean, I started using AI a little bit more recently. I was so against it, but I realized it's helping me out a little bit. But look here, it cannot replace, I don't care what, the human connection, the relationship. We need it. It is important. And as much as AI, and I'm seeing it just perpetuating so much, we have to be very careful to have a balancing act and knowing its place in our lives, in our work, in our relationships. Don't lose the human connection. And I want to come back to that I think you made in your communication tip that I shared earlier today, where you spoke about the need for writing and how it helps you therapeutically, and this is a podcast that's about communication, that focuses on communication, and it is important to communicate with yourself. We tend to feel communication is outward, is always to somebody else, but if you don't have a relationship with yourself and you're not able to see yourself, how can you have a relationship with somebody else? And let me explain about seeing yourself. There are things you would say to yourself, but when you write it out or you even speak it out, because I use the recording app and I talk it, and I listen back, I'm like, wow. And if I hear that back weeks later or months later, I could tell how much I've grown, how different I am, things that I would have said that, poof, I forgot about it, that I forgot I even said I wanted that, or I desire that. And I realized, wait a minute. Didn't I say something like this years ago? Isn't this what I want? What I'm living now is exactly what I said I wanted years ago, or months ago, or last week. So it forms as a reminder. It forms as a sort of you, that you at that time, as I said, the younger version of you or the previous version of you, and you're talking to yourself. And so your story that you're telling in your book, or the journaling that's leading you to that book, or whichever way you use to get the book out of you, is therapy. It's communicating with self. Tell me, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, a lot of different thoughts. One, it just popped in my head. Someone had told me a story that they were someone who's a journal writer, and I am not. I am now with my phone and me speaking. That's how I keep track of my random thoughts. But this person's a legit journal person, and she mentioned that she is a different person than she was in her 20s and 30s and 40s. And then her friend said, "Oh, don't you want to get rid of that?" And she goes, "No, I've been wrong, right, high, low." And listening to you and thinking about that conversation I had just a few nights ago, we all change, and we all evolve, and I don't, to me, that's kind of interesting, right? You're like, you might be one political or one religion or one kind of husband, but you grow and you change. And so I think there's a lot of value in that for whoever reads your story. So I'm just assuming we got half the audience now is going to write. So for those, we got a few more minutes. I got to get the other 50%, but for those people, yeah, we're going to do it.
Of course.
But also evolving and being very, we're all misfit toys at some part. And I love a lot of the authors I've worked with, put it all on the line. And going back to your first question, an editor or just time or a good friend will help you, I hope, become more vulnerable, because there's no, the issue we're all facing is ego, not necessarily ego, I'm better than you ego, but the ego that's like, it's sitting on your shoulder saying, you might want to not say that, but we want to flick that ego off and just say it, and we can spell correct later, right? We can fix that stuff. Yeah. Just flip it off and let's just go. Let's just go. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question, but and now going back to a second ago about AI did not come out with a user manual for the, even now it's a black box. We're all just kind of navigating, bumping into each other. Okay, what is this? And the first thing we can all relate to is ChatGPT and writing. But as everyone's learning, that's like out of 50 things AI does, that's like number 50 to me. And it's not even, it's whatever. It does so many other things. And one thing it does amazing is if you give it your thoughts, feelings, it'll organize it like a good editor. Just just organize it. Not perfect, but it'll organize. And then you can also ask what is missing. It's good at finding gaps. So there's some good in there with AI as well. So you can really use it as your diary and keep track and just be vigilant to keep it accurate. And the thing is, if you see a word that's not yours or the tone's off, it'll be very loud. You'll say, oh, that's not me. And you go back and correct it. But so I say, try it out if you haven't used AI, just to spell check what you're doing and organize,
Yeah. It's like your own virtual assistant,
Yes.
like you have a little bot that's helping you to just go through and take care of the little things that you could focus on really what you need to focus on, and it helps you to do those little activities. I'm not against a total AI. Like I said, I've recently started using it a little bit more, but I like the human connection. And I'll tell you this, people can pick up, even when they read a book or they interact with whatever it is you're doing, if it's really that human talking to them or if it's really AI. They can tell the language, the flow, the feeling, the energy that's coming off of the pages, if it's physical or even if it's online, web copy and that type of thing, they can tell. So try to still not, like I say, lose the human aspect or the human element of whatever you're doing. Don't just fully rely 100% on AI and think, yay, this is saving me. Remember, you still exist in this world and you have a brain, use it. It's a gift. It's a muscle, just like any muscle in the body. If you don't use it, it starts to get atrophy. So let's not have this thing up in here and not use it, people. It's a muscle that needs to be on the treadmill, okay? Even if the rest of your body isn't, get this on the treadmill.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we say often, just don't plagiarize, just be you, and just start recording those thoughts. And, when I started writing my book, my very best friend, who I adore, I love him, and he's such a good person. And he goes, "Why are you writing a book? This is me. I'm in publishing." And he knew, so even the best people might, say, "No, why are you writing a book?" And I'll forgive him for his, faults. And now he regrets saying that to me big time. But, you might get a little pushback, but just know, we're here to cheer you on.
Yeah. And that's all that people need, the support, the right environment to help them to grow and to flourish, And, just like the title says, bringing your voice to life in 90 days or less. That was one of the hold back mechanisms of people, that they felt, oh my God, it's going to take me 2-3 years to write a book, and then they're comparing themselves to other people that they shouldn't really compare themselves to, because they're not at that level. They're just a beginner. And so, you really just want to look at you in the mirror, focus on you, put the blinkers on, and don't take on anybody else. And you can churn out a book in 90 days or less. And then the next question they might say, how many pages? Normally a book might be, if it's good quality, you're looking at probably 200, 250 pages. There are so many other books that are less, 100 and something. You want something that people could probably just lie down with a glass of wine or a cup of tea and read it in probably a night, if that's what you want. It doesn't have to be. So when we say 90 days or less and bring your voice, which is important, your voice, not Corine's voice, not Dan's voice, not your neighbor's voice or your mother's voice, your perspective, not influenced by anybody else, what you believe, what your values are on paper, you can do it.
Yes. 90 days is, that's actually how we work at our company. And it's different. Our rationale is different than a lot of people think. There's an ugly kind of statistic in publishing, and that is about 50% of manuscripts are abandoned. People get fatigued, life happens, holiday vacation, whatever, or they just get fatigued, like I said. So ours is a bit of a velvet hammer. We're saying, hey, let's get her done. You can let it sit and come back at some point, but let's get the majority of those thoughts and wisdom and life experiences out of your brain, or even if it's fiction, let's do it. But don't look at it like you have to have it done in 60 days or a year. There are people who say, well, it's going to take a lot of people in the publishing industry say, oh, it takes as long as it takes. Well, that would be fine if there wasn't so much abandonment of manuscripts. So I would say you got to have a little discipline here. We're not asking for a lot. And by the way, you can still record it. You don't even have to sit down in an old typewriter or a computer or longhand or, a feather quill, making it pretty easy for you.
Dip it in the ink.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of latitude, there, but I think the 90 days is more metaphorically speaking. Let's get it done.
So what you're saying, Dan, is that people have no excuses. Nobody's telling you to use a feathered quill. If you want to take the feathered quill, you can, If you're all that and you want to be like aloof in writing, you can, and write in your calligraphic kind of writing on certain paper. That's all right.
I can't even do it with a crayon, so I'm sure it would look terrible. But none of us.
Crayons are possible.
Yes, but I will say I will never be an artist. I wish a painter or a singer. God forbid I would sing. But I will tell you, or even a dancer. But we're going to stop there, and I'll just say this: that we can all be an author. We can all be an author. We can all be an author. And if you do get it written, hold that chin up, head up high, and call yourself an author. Don't just, we all know who the greats are. And we're, in golf, I'm not going to be Tiger Woods, or we're not going to be Shakespeare. But you know what I mean. Hold your head up. You can be an author.
Yeah. The main thing is to get your voice heard. Some people do podcasting like what I'm doing here, but I do both. I'm in podcasting and I'm an author. So because I'm a creative, it just works for me. I'm also a dancer. So, hey, and I'm also an artist. I paint and draw. And I also do calligraphy. So it works. So the feathered quill is up my
You're one of those. You're one of those people. You got.
I don't know what one of those mean.
I got one skill and you got lots of skills. That's what I mean.
Well, I'm thankful, but you wouldn't catch me jumping off a cliff or jumping out of an airplane.
Exactly.
I'm staying very solid on the ground. Thank you very much. So I have my gifts and I'm thankful for it. And there are other people who have their own gifts. But we want people to bring their gifts out. Bring your voice out. That is a gift. And even if you don't have a voice, you have a voice in your head and you can get what your thoughts are. That's what we mean by a voice. Get your thoughts out in some way, shape, or form. Don't let it hold you back. And remember how therapeutic it is by developing yourself. This is about communicating with yourself and having the best love relationship with you. You can't have, and I'm telling you very boldly, you cannot have a relationship with others. It don't matter what, if you don't have a relationship with yourself. Thank you so much, Dan, for being on Between the Lines. It's been a pleasure. Any final words before we go?
I'm very grateful. Thank you. You bring good spirit to this conversation, and I'm sure you bring a lot of good spirit around those you're with. So I am sure our paths will cross again. I cannot thank you enough.
For sure, for sure. When you make the bold move to leave from the cold and come over in the Caribbean, that will be the
Yes.
day.
Do you hear the door knocking? Do you hear the door knocking? That's me. Open the door. I'm
going
already
to
there.
end the episode at this point. Thank you so much.
I'm there.
For being done between the lines. That was pretty quick. Was that AI?
I know. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, my AI